Hello, welcome. My name is Dan Ciubotaro and today we'll talk about Saturn-Uranus cycle and the 2021 squares. As you all know, this year there will be 3 squares, perfect aspects between Saturn in Aquarius and Uranus in Taurus. The first one already took place on 17th of February. The next one, which in my opinion is the most important one, will take place on 15th of June, and the last one on 24th of December. Before going forward, I'd like to make a short note. All the charts that I'm using are made with Placidus house system and mean nodes. If you are using a different house system, you need to redraw the charts according to your own settings. So, in order to understand these squares, we need to look at the whole cycle between Saturn and Uranus. And the current cycle started on 13th of February 1988 with a conjunction at 29 degrees Sagittarius. And this cycle, it will end on 28th of June 2032 with another conjunction at 28th of Gemini. So the squares that are taking place right now in 2021 are part of this cycle starting in 1988. And these squares are waning, meaning that are the last square. It's not the first one, it's the last square of the entire cycle. And later we'll talk about the difference between the first one and the last one. And first, let's take a look on the historical perspective on this cycle. I've made a list here with the last cycles, Saturn-Uranus cycles in the last 600 years. And I found out that the current cycle 1988 took place in Sagittarius, and it's quite similar to the cycle started in 1398. And between them there were a lot of other cycles on different signs. This means that between these two cycles there is a connection, because this is the same sign, Sagittarius. And I search on Wikipedia and find out some important events that took place on this 1398-1442 cycle. It was a time where Spanish Empire and Portuguese Empire start to take shape, and they will dominate the next few hundred years in our history. Also China, it was on a huge expansion. They sailed in Indian Ocean to sail on India, Persia, Arabia and East Africa. We'll see that there are some similar things between that period of 1398 and the current cycle 1988. And this is about expansion. It's about the same signs of Sagittarius, which is pushed forward, and right now all this international relationship and balance between powers is changing. It's changing according to this Sagittarius perspective. Let's talk about what is the meaning of this Saturn-Uranus cycle. Saturn, it's about old structure. It's about everything that it's already in place and built. It's about limits, boundaries and old ideas. Uranus, on the other hand, it's about new structure, everything that is different and non-conventional. It's talking about no limits, no boundaries, it's about freedom and new ideas. So this cycle, it's very important for our evolution, because it's about moving from old to new, from what is already established to new form of manifestation, from what is already known to the unknown. And this cycle, which lasts usually between 44-45 years, it's shaping the new trends in our world, and it's pushing humanity to reach new goals and pushing the entire society to a new direction. And how it's happening, this? The most important thing is the sign holding the conjunction, because it defines the primary archetype that needs to be reinvented. Right now we are in the Sagittarius cycle, which is an element of fire. And right now we are redefining all the ideas of Sagittarius. all the use and the ideas related to the fire element. And everything that is related to foreign travel, foreign alliances and relationship, ideology and cultural values, laws and value of society, education, is under the process of being reinvented. And it's not hard to look on the last 20 years. Everything that started in 1988 with the internet and the way the world changed, you can see very, very easily that it's about this Sagittarius, about setting new limits, and it's about expansion. It's about how easy people are start to traveling to communicate from 1988 to present time, and it will continue until 2032. So the idea is that this cycle Saturn-Uranus, it's about reinventing Sagittarius on global scale and also on let's say smaller areas, and a little bit less on personal level, because the cycle is 45 years long, so you get maximum 2 cycles per life if you are lucky. So on personal level is not quite so important, but on global scale it's very, very important. And I give you only one example about this. This is a chart about air transport, passenger carriage, between 1970 to 2019. So this cycle started in 1988, around here, and we see that in 1988 there were around 1 billion passengers using the air transportation, and in 2019 almost 4.5 billion. Saturn-Uranus in Sagittarius, it's about what is distant, redefining distance, redefining the idea of being foreign, different from you. It's about changing the education, the internet, and redefining the way we are learning, our children are learning. Everything about ideology, cultural values, everything is changing. Also everything about the law. And as an example, I will use 2 different charts. It's the same charts applied for 2 different locations. For Washington, United States, with this chart on Washington, and China with the chart on Beijing. The same chart of the conjunction in 1988. And you will see something very, very interesting. This conjunction Saturn-Uranus took place at 29 degrees of Sagittarius. First thing that we notice is this degree, 29 degree. It's a critical degree, meaning that this cycle is more powerful and has this ability to generate change much quicker, because the light degree it's more toward change. It's like the 29 degree wants to move forward quickly, change a little bit faster, all the things. And that's why starting with 1988 everything was accelerated, and all the changes that we are living right now are producing very, very rapidly. And for United States, for Washington, these conjunctions occur in 4th house. So we have Sagittarius and 4th house. For United States, it's a period of redefining internal values. Starting in 1988, we see that America start to have huge problems internally about human rights, about immigration. Sagittarius, it's about traveling and immigration. And we'll see that a lot of events occurred on this 4th house. Also the attacks from 9/11, it's quite related to this Saturn-Uranus in 4th house. Especially we have this Mars here, Moon Mars, which are part of this conjunction. And everything that is talking about this cycle for United States is to redefining internal values. It's like, okay, you need to reinvent yourself, to look into your own garden and see what you need to change, because things cannot continue as it was until now. And by comparing with China, we see a different story. Saturn-Uranus is very close to midheaven. So for China is outside expansion. It's reinventing as a world power. And I think that this cycle, Saturn-Uranus, helped a lot China to grow, to increase presence in the world arena. This Saturn-Uranus is like telling to United States, okay, your next 45 years, starting with 1988, is about your own garden. And for China, is saying, okay, it's not about your own garden, but to take ownership and to go into the world and to present yourself. So we see a different perspective on United States versus China, and this cycle is quite important from this perspective. What is important also to look, it's the rising sun, which for Washington is Virgo, meaning that this rising sun shows us how United States is dealing with this Saturn-Uranus cycle. And we see that the rising sign, the ascendant, is squaring the Saturn-Uranus. And also Mercury, the ruler of the ascendant, is retrograde on 19 on Aquarius, meaning that it's on quincunx aspect, 150 degrees. This shows that United States has little capacity of dealing with these changes that are occurring and taking place on the fourth house. It's like it doesn't understand what's happening. That's why a lot of events took by surprise. On China, we see on Aries rising and with a Mars in Sagittarius, the same element fire. We see that China is able to manage and to take advantage of these changes that Saturn-Uranus are providing. We see this Mars is close to Moon, to Saturn-Uranus, and close to in ninth house, close to midheaven. So it's a different story also from this ability of a country to manage the opportunities that are coming. United States doesn't know how to handle it. It doesn't realize what is happening. And China, on the other hand, is making some huge advancement and is able to make profits from these changes. Also, on this cycle, we need to talk about the previous aspects, important moments. The first square took place in 1999 with Saturn in Taurus and Uranus in Aquarius. And we see that the squares right now in this year are mirroring the previous one. In 1999, Saturn was in Taurus, now Uranus in Taurus. And Uranus in Aquarius and Saturn in Aquarius. So it's like mirroring. Also in 2008, it was opposition Saturn and Uranus on the Virgo Pisces. And there were 5 perfect opposition between 28 and 2010. And these dates are quite important because they are key elements of this 1988-2013 30 cycle. And what is the difference between the first and the last square? The first square, it's describing a moment when the first tension, the first problems appears related to this cycle. So around 1999, it was laid out the foundation of this cycle. And what happened in 1999 and 2000? The United States President approved the US-China Relations Act. It was the starting moment for the balance shift between United States and China, and occurred on the first square, around the first square between Saturn and Uranus. So this first square, it's about defining the theme, the problem, what we need to tackle. And starting with 1999-2000, China increased a lot. It was the economic crisis around 2007-2008 which provided new opportunities for China, and it was affecting more United States than China. And right now in 2021, with the second square, it's a time when the Chinese power is about to be validated. It's like everything that started in 1988 and accelerated after the first square, now it's becoming a reality. It's something that we need to accept the power of the Chinese and the way that they expanded in the world. And now let's take a look on some charts related to those events on 2008 regarding our current cycle, Saturn-Uranus. And we'll look at the chart for United States. We have this on inner chart, the Saturn-Uranus from 1988 on Washington, and on external the current chart. And first let's look at October 10, 2000, the moment when the Relation Act with China was signed. And looking at this chart, we see that Saturn was retrograde on 0 Gemini, and Uranus was retrograde on 17 of Aquarius. And if we go a little back in time, we'll see that a couple of months ago there was this square between Saturn in Taurus and Uranus in Aquarius on early 2000. It was a time when all the negotiation took place and all the decision. So October, it was the signing, it was official start. And it's interesting how this Uranus at 17 degrees Aquarius is right on Mercury on natal chart of Saturn-Uranus. And for United States, Mercury is ruler of the rising sign. So they signed this, Bill Clinton signed this deal thinking that they will provide much more opportunities for United States, for United States economy. But being Uranus here and on the ruler of the rising, quincunx with the rising, show us that things will evolve totally different than expected. If we look at the chart for China, let's select China for the same moment. Yes, Uranus is still on Mercury, but Mercury is not the ruler of the chart. Mercury is ruling Virgo, which is in the 6th house of this chart, and also the 3rd house. The third house, which is about signing new deals, negotiating, and communication. And Jupiter also retrograde around here. That moment is far more favorable for China rather than United States. Also, if we look at the same chart for United States, but let's say we'll look to the year 2008, when it was the economic crisis, we see that it was this opposition between Saturn and Uranus right on the rising and descendant of United States. So this transit shows us the huge impact of these economic problems, and also it was generated by United States. It was something that it was related to their internal market, the 4th house, the housing market, the speculation, the bubble, the speculation bubble on market house. We'll see this Saturn Uranus right on ascendant descendant and squaring everything that is in the 4th house. We'll see this huge impact. So we have this 99-2000, which was the start of, let's say, growth of China, and 2008 it was major point in time when, let's say, China gained more power. And if we look right now, we have this Saturn Uranus square mirroring the 1999 square, and we'll see that Saturn will go over the Sun and over the Mercury, especially over the Mercury, and it's like validating the change that occurred in 1999. Uranus was here They signed that the new deal with China, which they thought that it was something positive for them, but in the end it was totally different for United States. And Saturn now it's coming in 2000 and end of 2021 and 2022, and it will validate that change, that new power balance between China and United States. It's interesting to look at the chart of 11 September, when it was the attacks on New York, and we'll see that Uranus was retrograde at 21 Aquarius and in perfect quincunx with the rising sign at the 21 of Virgo. And also Saturn was getting close to midheaven and opposing all the planets in 4th house. Also here we see that Chiron, it's quite active, being conjunct with Mars in 4th house. And Chiron is important on this chart because on the natal chart in 1988 it was conjunct with midheaven for United States. So Chiron is bringing a sense of pain, a sense of painful events that might occur in the 4th house, and is describing very well what happened in 2001 with in New York and also in Washington. And the squares from this year are important because they are, let's say, putting in place all the new rules of Sagittarius, the rules that were started to be defined starting with 1988 and especially on these key moments 1999 and 2008. And right now the last square, it's about defining these new rules and defining the new power balance. And as we previously said, for United States it's about redefining internal values, Sagittarius 4th house, redefining education. And I saw some charts that the United States education, let's say, level, it's decreased in the last decades. And also they have this problem with student debt. This is still a topic related to 4th house and Sagittarius. So for United States there are a lot of domestic issues that they need to be to address and need to solve, and they need to reinvent their core values. For China, the expansion is continuing. For them, it's a cycle that puts them out in the world and to take leadership and to impose their, let's say, to become a leader in technology and business and everything else. This Saturn-Uranus cycle, in my opinion, is very important if we look on global events, because it's always generating those events where society is pushed forward, where all tradition, all things are, let's say, need to be rewrite, need to be reevaluated and created new ideas, fresh ideas, Uranian ideas, which in time will become Saturnian ideas, old ideas, and the cycle is repeating itself. Thank you for attention. This is all that I want to present you about this subject. We can talk about this subject for many hours. I just wanted to give you some short ideas, some summaries about how I view this cycle of Saturn-Uranus. If you have any comments, please write it down below. Also, don't forget to like this video and to subscribe to my channel. Thank you.